ready, Phil? You ready?
Yep.
Okay, we are now recording.
We are now back in open session, and we're going to move to your ongoing projects, and Mr. Manager, if you would take your time and advise us on items 1 through 8.
Most of the topics, dilapidated buildings, we don't have anything additional. The only one that we had was 114 South Main. That was a pressing matter. Brittany has some information on meals and lodging taxes. Street improvement, nothing to report. Wrigglesworth, nothing to report. The grass is growing nicely at the football field. But I would like to publicly ask and state that the county, the LRA specifically, provided us with several items of stainless steel kitchen equipment for the Gators football field and the concession stand, and I would like to prepare a little letter of thanks for the mayor to sign, if that's agreeable with everybody, to tell the county thanks. It's a sink, some shelving, and I think it was actually a stainless steel counter or table.
He said he wanted to go over there this week, so I'll come and get you.
Would like to do that, but they did have some surplus stuff over there at LRA that they provided to us.
Hold on, Mr. Manager. Would you offer a motion to authorize me to sign this letter, please?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the mayor to sign this letter.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Nash is second. All those in favor of authorizing the mayor to sign this thank you letter to the county, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Continue, Mr. Manager.
As we move on, nothing other than grass growing at Wrigglesworth and stainless steel equipment East End. We're about halfway done with the curb and gutter project. If you go down there, it's pretty big construction project going on. We approach halfway on the drainage improvements. Tailored Bottom, we applied for a $60,000 planning grant, and the state did not turn us down, but they did ask us to reapply because they'd already committed their funds for this fiscal year, and I'm asking authorization from council to resubmit, or for Chastity to resubmit after the 1st of July under the same conditions, which include no local match,
Thank
no
you, Mr.
additional
Nash.
local match.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Nguyen, I'll give you the second.
I'm sorry, who made that motion?
Mr. Nash has moved, and Mr. Nguyen has seconded that we authorize Mr. Manager Van Orbeck and his staff to reapply for this planning grant. Any discussion or debate? I'll ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Page.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Manager, will you continue?
Number 7, Armory. This is a big one. As we are completing abatement activities at the Armory, with completion of the full project required by August of 2024. Manager Van Orbeck is requesting authorization to solicit sealed bids for the renovation of the Armory, and once final plans are complete, they will be presented to council. But I'd like to get started on finalizing documents, finalizing plans with Virginia Union, and getting this thing on the street and see if we can get some bids in here and see if we can get this project renovated. If I wait too terribly much longer, we're going to end up, because we're still 30, 60, 90 days before we're under contract, wait much longer. I don't think we're going to meet our August 2024 deadline, which is imposed by the ARPA funds.
It's a pretty self-explanatory request. Is there a motion to approve his request?
Move to approve that Mr. Van Orbeck start soliciting sealed bids for renovation of the Armory.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gormas is second. Is there any discussion? I ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Page.
Aye.
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 Tasing.
Madam Clerk, the motion carries 7-0 without the mayor objecting. So those that think I'm nay Armory, I'm very much for the Armory.
And then
Number 8,
weatherization, nothing to report at this time. We really no other weatherization activities to take place, certainly until the new fiscal year. Under new business,
Sorry, you said Brittany had something to report from meals tax, but you skipped over it. Does she? Do you have anything?
No, I don't, unless y'all need to.
unless you have any questions of what she presented.
we'll talk about that at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
It might warrant a closed session, so I hate to keep you. We'll try to get you.
I asked about on ongoing is speed bumps and picket court. Is that?
It's coming. Pavers are,
I know they're getting ready. Have they started blacktopping yet?
no. Mm-mm. They haven't been here. We're just doing the concrete work now, which is preliminary to the blacktop.
Curb and gutter.
I'm sorry. We're working on the fly here today. I want to tell the audience, there's been a lot transpire between the time that we get this document together. I am an old school guy, and you can see the front and back enormity of the council package. It's a tremendous amount of information, and it takes a few days to get this ready, and there's some things that have come up, and I'm sorry to be rude and to confer with members of council, but I'm just trying to do the best I can to move Blackstone forward. Business, were you discussing the surplus items, business number
You
one?
can see what they are, and those are the 5 items. You may have already surplus those doors some time ago, but in absence of going back and reading all the minutes, I just stuck them on the list again. And I intend on donating those to Habitat for Humanity, if that's agreeable.
Fairly benign request. Is there a motion from council?
So move.
Mr. Page has moved to surplus these items. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Nash is second. All those in favor, is there any discussion? I'm in a
These
hurry.
be like the unused backhoe buckets. I mean, these should bring decent. Would that go on Gov Deals?
Those would go on Gov Deals, the chain link fence on Gov Deals, the fuel tank and the mower will all go on Gov Deals. The doors, I think we've actually solicited bids and never received any. Those are the doors that sat in that airport hangar for eons, and we moved them when we bought the new tractor, and they just been sitting there. I think we donated a couple of the Chamber of Commerce folks here not long ago, but everything else will go on Gov Deals.
All right. Any other discussion or questions for the manager? Hearing none, I ask for a voicemail. All those in favor, a voice vote. Voicemail. Voice vote.
Let me call you real quick.
Well, call me, maybe I'll straighten up and fly around. I'll ask for a roll call vote now. All the,
What's it gonna be? Either
I don't
or
know.
now?
You know what I'm saying? Let's flip a coin. I ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? As I stumble through item number 1, we'll go to item number 2, and that's Flagstar Bank,
It's purely informational, but we received some information from Flagstone Bank, excuse me.
It's catching.
Pardon? Flagstar Bank, I apologize. It is Flagstar Bank. In regards to some financing that we have done with a company they acquired because of its insolvency, Signature Public Financing refinanced the water treatment plant in 2020. It was $4.4 million that they actually lent us, and took out a previous deal that we had with Carter Bank, dropped it down to 2.55%. Signature Bank has been acquired by Flagstar Bank. We asked our VML Vaco financial advisor if there was anything that he recommended that we do, and his indication was, and that's included, is that there's nothing to do, make the payments as standard. So if you do have casual interest in all things economics, Signature Public Finance is no more, is now owned by Flagstar Bank.
Any questions from council? Moving right along to item number 3, Planning Commission.
I think Jennifer has included some appointments to the Planning Commission. I think everybody's reserving again, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the same folks, and including Mr. Miller as the town council's representative. And Jennifer, I think, is asking for reappointment of these folks, including Mr. Miller.
You've heard
I've
the,
spoken to all of them, and every year the terms rotate, so every year I'll come back to y'all for it.
absolutely. You've heard the request. Is there a motion?
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Almond? I'm not asleep.
Stay down.
Mr.
I
Almond
make a
has-
motion to approve the appointments as presented.
and Mr.
I'll second.
Page is second. Because of the gravity of appointing these fine
Before
people,
you- And looked
I've
through-
blown it again, Mr.
I've looked through all of these appointments and I think we're fine. But as I've stated many years previously, those that are serving the town of Blackstone like this, when we make appointments like this, I would like that they are current on taxes.
Oh.
I mean, I feel like if you're serving, you should be correct.
So you're like a majority.
No, I mean, I just like my point to be known.
Bring anyone in that mind
I've said this many years. It's been a long time.
I talked to a few of these members. They seem to get along well and work well together. They enjoy serving, so I'm all for it.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and I'll ask for a roll call vote beginning with Mr. Page.
Aye.
Abstain?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0-1. That's all we have for old business, and now we're at the committee referral. I'm gonna refer, to Accountant Finance, in honor of the request of the Health and Ordinance Committee to take up, the financial aspect of having a code enforcement officer.
Code official.
Code official, okay, I wrote it down, code official, okay? And there also, I'm gonna refer to Mr. Miller, your Street and Light Committee, the North Main Street sidewalks. Is this correct? You have any other referrals that you would like me to take up? Okay, it's good. All right, it's time for the mayor's minute, and like I alluded to earlier, had a lot of things happen today, and I have a few items to bring up, and, if, I have 6 items, and if we need more time on them, then, well, certainly we can put some of it off. The first item is Nottaway County's Economic Development Committee. So in the February meeting, I briefed the council that this committee was gonna be reformed, and there was talk about the five members of the Board of Supervisors and possibly the 3 mayors. And the beauty of that was, for those that didn't see that meeting or understand, the beauty was that the 3 mayors and the Board of Supervisors would meet regularly, and I believe that's the 4th Thursday at 6:30. I made a mistake, and I'm gonna ask y'all to forgive me. I apologize that I did not seek a motion. I spoke of my conversation with Mr. Nash, and Mr. Nash was the chairman of this committee until it was disbanded because of COVID, I believe. I spoke to him, and I told him my excitement of getting to know Mayor Welch, Mayor Miskovic, and to get to know the Board of Supervisors. It offers a very legal way for me to speak to, after the meetings or before the meetings. I get a chance to speak to the chairman and the vice chair. And I was met with silence, and I assumed that was common consent, and I made a mistake, and I apologize. So I'm asking to be appointed to the EDC and granted the authority to sign documents or letters in my capacity as the vice chairman, just as long as these actions do not obligate the council or do anything that will usurp the council's authority.
So moved.
And that's Mr. Page is moved. Is there a second?
Second.
And that's Mr. Nash. I don't see any need for a roll call vote. I'll ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Okay. 7-0. Thank you, council. Number 2, when we were working on this dog ordinance or this animal control ordinance, we agreed that Philip and I would report back to the council in 30 days, and I think we're somewhere close to that right now, where we are with having the town staff issue county tags, which we all agreed would be a great thing. Philip and I made an appointment with the outgoing, or has she already left? Is she already left?
I think June 1st is enough.
Okay. So we made an appointment. We made an appointment with
The current
Yeah.
treasurer will be leaving, I think it's in June.
June, okay, we have a new
appointment
one.
made for a new-
We met with her shortly after the council meeting, and forgive me, I don't have the date. And we explained to her what we wanted to do, and she was, and Philip, ring in, correct me if I'm wrong. She was very enthusiastic about it. She had no problem whatsoever about it. She needed to confer with whoever she needed to confer, but we left with a positive feeling that this was gonna happen. So that's where we are now. I promised y'all 90 days I'd make it so, and then that is my goal, and we're on track. We talked, what do we do about the fire? We did the fire department sign. There's 2 grants that I wanna speak to y'all about, and if we can approve them, great. If not, then, we might have to come back for a call meeting. The first grant is a downtown investment grant, and the nomenclature or the alphabet soup is DIG, D-I-G. This is a grant that is $75,000, and it has a $37,500 match in kind. In kind can be used when we do wire up this, or I think, Philip, if you'll expand on this, I think he has a vision of a timber pavilion. I've seen some pictures of it. Good gracious, it's beautiful. We can use the in-kind funds for administration. We can also use whatever we do. And we're also, Mrs. Green, is it $29 an hour for volunteers? If we have volunteers doing any work, the state allows us to charge $29 an hour for their work. I feel pretty confident
To
that
make it
we'll
clear, this is for like the
improve,
pavilion and the square?
the stage pavilion, been talk, I think, Mr. Allman, about a kiosk, information kiosk, landscaping, and also the possibility of having an electric vehicle charging station.
And this is all in the town square?
This will be in the town square. This is for the town square. This is due on April the 28th. I apologize. I would love to get a response from council. The manager can ask you a question. Mrs. Green can ask you a question. I've stammered enough. The floor is yours.
Please, no landscaping. Then we've
I
got to
think-
keep up with the flower bed.
I think it's fine to apply for it, but
All we're asking for, DB is asking for a letter of support.
correct, and I think it's
DBI
fine.
is applying for this grant.
But you would ask for the funds to come from the town if awarded, correct?
Ask for in-kind.
Well, and that's fine. So I would obviously ask for that to be within the budget year, so obviously, yes, support. I make a motion that we support applying for the grant. But if, I mean, it sounds like it's gonna fall within the budget year anyway, this coming budget year.
I would think the work would certainly be
Yeah.
Yeah.
conducted.
I don't want us to obligate $3,700
Here it is.
or $37,500
Concerned if my
in this budget
conflict
year if we don't budget
involves
for it.
where I can vote on this.
I don't think you.
I don't think.
So I think,
That's gonna come on this.
You'll be fine. You
Yeah.
can vote if you
We're gonna
want.
budget.
I can't hear this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
you're requesting authorization
I'm
that
being
the
rude.
town support or a letter of support?
Just a letter of support
Yep.
for this.
And authorize the mayor to sign. Is that
So moved.
correct?
Second.
Is that correct? You need the mayor's signature? So I have a motion and a second from Mr. Nash and Mr. Almond. Any discussion?
Just a letter of support, no funds spent, right?
No.
I think you have to have the understanding, if approved, 37,500 of in-kind or like services or cash.
That's not my concern is I could vote on the letter of support, right? With that conflict that we have?
I don't think you have a problem,
All right,
but the
we're
money decision will come either in the budget process or later.
Okay, all right.
We'll take that up. Is there any other discussion? Very good points for all. I ask for a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Page.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Number five is a similar grant. It's called a Resurgent grant, and it's basically small business training series and grants. Okay. Would you like to come to the podium and explain this? Because I got alphabet soup going on up here. Everybody know Mrs. Green, First Lady of Blackstone, Chairman of DVI, and a wonderful mother. And Chairwoman. No, I read that in Robert's Rules of Order. It's chairman. It's not, chairman is not a,
Thing is a chairwoman.
there's no such thing, so.
So the
Philip, is that one big
resurgence,
package?
the resurgence grant is also due on April 28th, so we were kind of scrambling. On this one, I've conferred with Chastity and we've talked to Philip. The town can apply for this grant. And it can go up to $100,000, but we're kind of proposing that we apply for $75,000 and use the funds for a small business training series. And if merchants participate or businesses participate in the series, then they'll be eligible for some grants after the fact for participating. So there've been other types of programs like this in other communities. This grant is a 5-to-1 match. So the way they've described to us that our best application would be for the Historic Business District, the funds that were awarded in the grant be given only to businesses in the district. But we're thinking to include outside of the district, maybe the town would like to use their matching funds for any businesses that like to participate in the series to give them some grants. And some of the other communities have used the grant funds for things like they could complete a certain amount of the sessions and then apply for a grant for projects within their business. Something like, maybe a new e-commerce platform or some new digital social media campaigns, something that would be new for their business. So that's what I thought. So if we apply for $75,000, the town could do a $10,000 cash match and 5,000 could be in-kind administrative costs, like Chastity administering the grant.
Any questions?
Any questions?
That's my line. Any questions?
I would just say that is, I'm supportive. I'm not sure if I want to pay for other businesses to come in and be a part of it, but definitely within our
We're talking about the
community.
town limits, right?
Town limits, right?
Town limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about farm, we're talking about town limits.
Yeah, the town limits, it would just be, say, by Walmart down that way, so that way they could be a part. The grant right now states it has to be downtown.
But you said the town's portion could help the businesses
Right.
outside of the
Right,
historic
so we
district.
can-
Okay,
we can
okay,
use
yeah,
that
Correct.
money.
That was our thought, to include outside of historic district. Your match could be used for that, for grants for those businesses.
You know, unfortunately, because I'm an economist, there's so much money still in this system. And there's grants and stuff that entrepreneurs and new businesses don't know about. And this, I would have loved to have this years ago. I've had to learn all this on my own. There's entrepreneurial programs, there's learning how to use web tools. And it sounds like something that would be very well done.
Well, we would like to partner with like the Long Business Small Business Development Center
Are y'all familiar with
to,
that?
to
I've
do
used
the
it
training for us.
top-notch.
And this money will go away at the end of this period. They won't offer this kind of grant anymore. This was tied to COVID, so it's relief for small businesses that were affected by COVID.
Are there any questions for Chairman Green?
If the $10,000 of town funds are not used, are they returned to the town? If no businesses outside of the downtown district use it,
You could return it, or I guess you could put it into the revolving loan fund that we're already using that would work for
I
them.
think we're gonna have to,
The way we apply for the grant, and we do the breakdown, if we tell them that that's what we're using it for, we may have to keep it in that, it just depends on how we form the grant in writing, how we phrase it.
So 10,000 is the town's match, and
Yeah.
even if we don't use it out of town, out of
Was-
the historic business district, we still have to.
yes,
submit
if we
$10,000.
accept the grant, we're committing to the 10,000 and the 5,000 in kind.
and this, again, I'm not being negative Nancy, but as I always say, would this be in this year's budget that we're committing $10,000 to that we have not budgeted? Philip,
I would say would not be in this year's budget,
it would fall in the coming,
because I think the activities, logically, by the time you get under contract and are awarded, and
Yes,
you're
so
gonna
the,
be pushing for it to July anyway.
the grant can start no later than October 31st, and it has to be completed by May 2024.
And typically, I
So
would
like
not-
if we did a series
we
like
don't
that.
have an answer by the time we're completing our deliberation of the budget. I would say I would not enter it in the budget, I would do it as an appropriation after.
well, if we,
from the fund.
go ahead.
Are we obligated by application, or are we obligated
No, we'll have to
after
accept it.
acceptance? You can always ask, same.
Yeah, but it's never good, in my opinion, to ask for it if you're giving it and then you decline it. I don't think it looks.
We've done it before,
Um,
but it's not a good practice to do that.
What, so if we do it within the next budget year, I don't want it, I would hate for the $10,000 to come from, the general fund, and then you say, all right, well, we gotta raise X, Y, and Z for it. Do you think there's a tax revenue that you can pull $10,000 from that would be fine?
I would have to take it out, I would take it out of fund balance and cash on hand.
Well, tonight, we just would like to be able to apply for it.
And then maybe if we give the authority to apply for this, that we can educate ourselves.
And I just-
And I'll be glad to refer this to your committee.
I just
Okay.
want everybody to remember, $10,000 in the grand scheme of things, Blackstone is a decent amount of change when you figure what we get for real estate tax and stuff like that, which is pretty small compared to.
Well, I'm gonna refer,
I'm all for this,
I would
yes.
ask you to approve this, and I'll refer this to the finance committee, and I have some thoughts I'd like to share. I am an ex officio member of that committee, okay?
I make a motion that we approve the town being a partner in this and applying for this grant. With up to a.
So the town's taking the lead on applying for this one, but DBI would certainly be a partner in it, absolutely.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll say.
And Mr. Gormus a second?
My-
So
My thought, my comments are not downing the grant, it's just the money process of where it comes from.
okay, I think, I admire you, that's why I appointed you, or I asked council to appoint you for this committee, because of that. I think once we hear about the grant, then we should deliberate amongst ourselves, is this worth the investment? If we're gonna have a $75,000 project
Would be
and
$90,000
$10,000
total.
You know,
You want a good rate of return.
well, I think that's I'd take those odds, if we can help our, I've heard from this council that we have concerns about the storefronts that are open, and maybe so if the town invested $10,000 and we got one entrepreneur that stayed here in town, we'll get paid back many times, so we have a motion and a second, we're not spending any money. So I ask for a voice vote to allow DBI to apply for this grant with a possible $10,000 match from the town. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The last thing on the mayor's hour, okay? It's supposed to be about, I'm just kidding. So I'm gonna, there's three of y'all were here, four of y'all were here, and four of us that weren't. And what I'm gonna talk to you about is there was, and the clerk found the minutes for me. I don't know what I've done with them. But anyway, there was a motion duly passed that the town of Blackstone would enter into an agreement with the Nottaway County School Board that the town, at their expense, would demolish the one-story building on the eastern side of that property. And since joining y'all up here, I have heard a few, or a couple, or how many it is, enough that I want to bring it up to you tonight, that I think there's a consensus that if we're gonna spend that kind of money on it, that we should own the property. Am I out of turn here? I'm here, I think that's what we wanna do. Therefore, I feel like it's necessary that we rescind we rescind any and all motions or documents or agreements with Nottaway County School Board to demolish the one-story building at the town's expense without acquiring the property. We have an agreement that has not been signed, that Philip wisely knew he had 4 new people coming up here, and it wasn't signed. It's sitting there. I would like for us to officially remove ourselves from that agreement and destroy it.
Who was on the prevailing end of that? Because obviously you don't want.
Yes, so, I think the council, from time to time, council is gonna deviate from the Robert's Rules of Order, okay? I was on here, this is your 13th year, and I'm coming up on my 9th serving. And so, sometimes we've been doing things wrong, and one of the things that we were doing wrong is you're not allowed to bring up an issue, if you're on the losing end at that particular meeting. The next meeting, the next time council brings up, you are free and able to bring up any item, make a main motion of any kind you want. So I understand, that's the way we've done good.
Clarity, yeah.
But I do like that, I just don't, so if we've got crazy man number 4 over here, and he wants to keep bringing it up, he's gotta have a second. And we'll move forward. So I kinda like the idea if a council member has had a change of heart and wants to add some more to it, that we go that route. So if you want the information and y'all wanna know about it, she just gave it to me and I lost it.
Move to remove and destroy the agreement.
May I take a look at it if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, before I second?
Well, let's get a second so we can discuss. Is that okay?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And
This is only for
I guess I swallowed it.
us committing
I guess
ourselves to
I swallowed it.
demolishing it. This does not have anything to do about the lease agreement, anything like that. This is strictly
This is strictly
demolishing.
about our agreement to,
More,
I got too much going
more
on
about
up here.
cleaning up.
My concern is, when was it passed? When did we agree?
2019, is that what it was?
We hadn't signed it since?
No.
In 4 years?
It's been a lot of talk about, because then we started getting cost estimates, and it was over $100,000 to demolish it, and we're like, whoa, hold on.
Okay, so they have no signed,
No, There is no signed.
Okay,
It's been signed on their end, but not on the county.
not on the town, so we're
Has
not
not been
buying it.
executed.
I don't think it would be, yeah.
Heaven
So it
forbid.
started in 2018.
Sorry about all this confusion.
I'm good, I just wanted to see,
Yeah, we were just, I mean.
I knew it was passed a while ago and it just didn't register that
and
we
I
would
think
hold it for,
actually,
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, I think it was getting ready to pass, and then I was really adamant, and Philip wanted to tear it down, trust me. Philip loves
It
seeing
did
like
pass.
dogs. Yeah,
But you and Mr. Almond
How,
stepped out, if you remember.
correct, yeah.
It was unanimous vote, and it was 5-0 vote, if I'm not mistaken, to approve that. But because you guys weren't there, I spoke to Mr. Almond, I think shortly after the meeting, I said, you wanna revisit this thing since we haven't done. And it is a big money topic, and I think new council coming on, we just waited and didn't sign anything because of the uncertainty of what direction new council.
Any other discussion?
how are we coming along in the negotiations to become owners of the property?
Prefer to tell you that in closed session.
Closed session.
So we're gonna have 3 items, okay?
Now, I don't want this, and I think Chris is getting along with, well, probably what he's trying to add.
Yep.
I don't want us rescinding this motion looking like it's negative towards.
It's
The
not, I think
process.
we're doing the parliamentary
I agree,
correct thing.
100%, But I wanted to be clear that if anyone's watching, this is not against, it's just trying to clean it
Absolutely
off.
not, I think.
That's what I was
we're-
talking about,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've heard some really good things, we're going in the right direction.
You know, why come we just can't sit down and talk to the school board? I
Can-
mean, I know a couple people on there, and you know people on there. I
Well,
think we should get a meeting with them.
We're gonna have a closed session about that tonight.
Okay.
Okay, cause we can talk about it when we're transferring, property from one government entity to the next, okay? So, we have a motion and a second to rescind and destroy all these documents from Mr. Almond, second by Mr. Nash. I ask for a roll call vote beginning with Mr. Page.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. Your police report was, put at your desk earlier. Does anyone have any items that they would like to,
Have one,
okay?
Chief, I see we have traffic stops, 236. And just for clarity, and you may be able to point one out better, is there any way we can add a section or a actual list item that just designates speeding tickets? Like tickets given, not traffic infraction, because traffic infraction could be a whole lot. Or is it already on here and I'm just not seeing?
Next, I'll have to look to see if that's an option in this program that we have.
I'm just trying to make clear for, we've had some council members be addressed as, you know, how many tickets are given, how many stops are given, just to try to clarify how many speeding tickets were truly given out of all those stops.
We changed several years ago in our computer software program. Doesn't allow us to do certain searches like you're looking for.
Gotcha.
Summonses versus warnings is very difficult, and breakdowns. And they have what's called a community enforcement report that the officers do for every traffic stop that they make. That's something that we have to go to, and it's kind of a manual look at and search. But I'll see if we can do something.
Yeah. Just for those that bring questions to us, it's just nice to be able to say, all right, yeah, we're enforcing our laws by stopping people 236 times. How many of those were for speeding infractions?
I'd like to add also, it was good to see the 7 noise ordinance on the list, because I've gotten a couple people contact me about issues with that, especially out toward the Exxon in that area. Gary, call anytime if you have any questions or areas you want us to take a look at.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Everyone?
Any other questions about the police department?
Do your traffic stops include, noise ordinance as well?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
We had 4 hit and runs this month, really? I don't know if I've ever seen that on here before. Is that like a hit and runs? I mean, we've had 4 of them this month?
Yeah, it's anytime someone leaves the scene of an accident. I mean, technically, they have 24 hours to
Or they're in
Yeah.
violation of the law.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, you have in your council package, some information, provided under the informational tab. Is there any questions about, any of this information?
Philip, is there any way, I know it's a complete outside of Babs, but can we get a report added to this each month, from Mary about this separate new route that's being provided by the town? Just to, I mean, I hear it's doing very well, so I would like to see those numbers.
That's the ones you talked about Friday, right?
Yeah. Yeah, talking about the bus that picks up these trainees and brings them into town each evening, so.
From?
From the inn at Blackstone and wherever they call from, yep. And
So maybe
the
we-
numbers are pretty high, 30, 40, so it's worth the investment, it sounds like, for the town. That's it.
Oh, that's right, okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Page, you have the floor.
All right, first of all, I'd like to add an item to the agenda, which would be a closed session. So I'll make a motion that we add an item to the agenda, which would be a closed session for personnel under 2.2 3711A1 in the Office of Personnel Administration. Number 2 would be the second closed session issue is a 2.2-3711A7. That's briefing by staff on legal matters, or possible or probable litigation. And then number 3 closed session item would be 2.2-3711A3, which is the disposition of real property considering the school property that we were just discussing.
You've heard Mr. Page move to go into closed session. Is there a second?
That was a move to add it to the agenda.
Okay.
But yeah,
Either way, I don't care.
second.
Is there a second?
Can we get a couple minute recess?
Absolutely.
All right.
Second.
Second, Mr. Nash seconds. I ask for a roll call vote beginning with Mr. Page.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0.
Now, that was to add to the agenda. You want one more to go into closed session?
Well,
Yeah, because you gotta have a motion to go into closed session.
let's
I
let
thought that's what
citizens
that
speak
was.
more. Well, we
Yeah,
need
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, all right.
citizens speak.
I'm sorry, derelict in my responsibilities, and I even touted this, that citizens are allowed to speak to the council after the meeting. Is anyone would like to come and address council? Hearing none, what do you? Yes, ma'am, please come up. How are you this evening?
I have two questions, make it quick.
Yes, ma'am, thank you so much. Will you state your name?
My name is Sharon Street,
And your address for the record, please?
26 Pickett Court.
Thank you so much, Ms. Street.
One question was, you all talked about the speed bumps over in Pickett Court. You all gonna do paving?
Yeah,
When?
as soon as the papers get here.
I mean, so we will get Avenue
This
10.
summer, before it gets cold. I
What
gotta
about-
believe it.
It'll not be paving your street, it'll be paving new speed bumps.
Just the ones we already have down.
Correct. To make them a little bit larger.
How do I go about requesting a handicap parking space? I have an issue when the summer comes in. I can't park in front of my house, even though I park on my grass, and I really don't want to be parking on my grass. So,
I think, best way to do it, I don't know if we have a super formal process, write up a email, letter, we send it to the clerk, and provide it to the town council, they may refer to the street committees, they may act on it, but, just make a request, and I think we've done a few downtown.
okay.
Any objection to referring this to Street and Light now?
None whatsoever.
Okay, I'm referring that to,
Mr. Miller?
Mr. Miller, and he'll
Okay.
take that up.
Then the second thing I have been noticing since last year, we have a gentleman that resides in our local laundromat. That used to be the old Pizza Hut downtown. My concern is that when we had Mr. Antonio Stokes loitering around different areas in the town, there were different issues, and it was brought in the paper. He had been arrested several times and whatnot. This gentleman does not do anything that I've seen presenting harm, but myself, as being a nurse, my concern is his health and his well-being. He's in that laundromat with blankets and stuff all night long, all day long. Is he eating? Is his health being taken care of? You don't know if he will lay there and have a heart attack at night. And I feel like if we're letting him reside there, what liability does the town have or the owner of that property?
Well, thank you so much for bringing it to our attention. Mr. Manager, you have any thoughts on
Discussed
this?
this at length on several occasions. It's private property. There really is no action for the town to take. It's a private property matter. The property is open 24 hours. As I understand it, it's really not a function of the town to dictate who comes and goes in an individual.
But Mr. Stokes did the same thing, and
And Mr. Stokes was sleeping in his car.
everywhere, he was everywhere.
I deal with Mr. Lewis every day.
Okay.
I take care of Mr. Lewis. Check on him. He gets food from 3 different people each day.
Can he have a better sleeping place? I mean,
Tried. And there's not much out there.
but,
We would love to have a place for him.
I mean, there are so many vacant houses here in town that we can make a quarter. Even I would say there's a little back room in the laundromat. Couldn't that be made into a sleeping quarter for him instead of on the chairs and stuff?
It's an unconditioned space that the exhaust from the dryers go into. So it gets very hot in there.
So we couldn't add nothing? I mean, how would you like if that was you laying in that situation on that bench all night long? I'm looking at his health. I'm a nurse, you know, so
He's highly,
he's highly functional. I've spoken to him and stuff. Yeah.
highly appreciative
Yeah.
of what myself and the owner of the business has allowed him to do.
You saying the owner has no issue with it? Really?
He is also given jobs to do. I mean, he's not there.
I mean, don't they?
But he's sleeping there all night long. I have pictures where I've gone in at 3 or 4
He's
o'clock in
not
the morning.
alone
He's
sometimes.
he's stretched out. Yeah, there's been other people that stayed in there with him too.
I think everybody would be extremely happy if there was somewhere for him to go. But
Well, there's a lot of people in that
Is
situation.
it, I got a question. Okay, if this man is in this shape, has anybody ever tried to call social service and see what we can do?
I mean, that looks
already
bad
said
on.
that we don't have no place for the man. So why can't we go up here and talk to social service and see if they can't find a place for him?
Can I just break it down to you? And no, not being serious now. It's a big issue, okay? I do not work for town council. I'm not in town council. I'm involved with some things in the community. People come to me like I'm on the town council because I just volunteer. They feel like it's a discrimination thing, okay? You can do for one, but you can't do for the other. It's not fair. And if social service was getting involved, I feel like they would probably mandate. You can't make them by law. Legally, you cannot make him. If he's in his right mind, everything like that, you can't make him. But how does that look on us as the town? And to me, as the owner, how does that look on you, just letting him lay there any kind of way? To me, he looks filthy. I don't know if he's getting what type of medical care.
well, I just feel like
Yeah.
as a person that helps manage the laundromat, that if he wasn't in there, he's going to be where?
I don't know. Let's see.
Be sitting outside somewhere.
So,
Trust me,
but,
I
so I mean,
would-
with that in mind though, if you had 4 more show up tonight, you'd be okay with that?
No, because we've had several go elsewhere because they obviously were not doing anything. They were.
But he's sleeping there. I have pictures in my phone where I can show it.
I
Yeah.
can pull up cameras right now.
Yeah, yeah. So, like he said, if some 4 more people was to show, which I know another female and another male has been there overnight, and you're saying it's okay for them to do that when you have a sign that literally says no
I
loitering.
have a bigger heart than just saying, Mr. Lewis, you have to leave.
I understand. I would have, if I had room in my house, I would tell him to come stay with me too. Okay, but I'm just trying to say, what are we going to do? It's a big thing with the community.
It's not my responsibility nor the owner's to go find him a place to stay.
No, it's not. But it's a big issue with the community.
May I ask a question? I would sympathize, but is there an occupancy restriction in that zone, or what? How's the building zoned? Is it residential?
It's own general business, and in order for it to be modified for a residential purpose, and I don't think you can call it residential because it's open 24 hours. It's just loitering, I guess, or sitting in the business. You would need a conditional use permit to make it into residential.
So there's no occupancy certificate, how many people can stay there overnight or anything, live there? No?
If the goal's to get him out there, I'm sure government can find enough rules and put him out. And get the building
So that's the
system going.
alternative, like he's saying, he helps them and takes care of them, or
Now, trust me, I mean, I would love for a place for Mr. Lewis.
the only thing we
Well,
have.
why don't you all just go ahead and get him a room up the Wedgewood where the rest of the people that's out of, don't have place to stay. They have home, they put them place, Nottaway places them up there too. So why not, let's try to place them up there. I think the owner could spare that much if they think that much of him.
Well, unfortunately,
I know.
it's not in the purview of this council.
Okay.
This is on private property, and what happens between private property and is not the business of council, even though I
Yeah.
sympathize with you 100%. But, you know, the managers told us that that's strictly between the owner of the property. We can't govern everything.
Okay.
We're here for.
But you all, he paid taxes to y'all. He has to have a license from the town, right? He paid taxes for the town. You all allow him to have that business license, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I would feel like the council would have something to
That
say
does not
towards
give us
it.
the right to.
No, you don't have to
meddle.
tell him how to govern his business.
We can't meddle in someone's business when they do the appropriate things that are required of them from the town, county, state, and federal government. That's none of our business.
With a sign that say no loitering.
Well, that would be, that's up to the council. If they wanna have a no loitering policy, then, I don't wanna speak out of turn. Huh?
It's private
They're
property.
doing private
They would
property.
have to, take care of that, because it's their property.
Right,
Okay.
private property issue. I think
But I still think we should get in touch with social services for
I
this.
have-
Because you know it's going to, since we resolving this way and we're putting it as private property, so you know it's going to be an issue.
Well, I have a question. I hear all this being discussed about this particular person, and I'm a compassionate person myself. I wouldn't want my family
Yeah.
member, distant or close, to be in that predicament. But has anybody asked him personally?
He's from Amelia.
This is my question, so listen to it carefully. Has anybody asked him what he wants to do? Because he's a grown man,
Yeah.
and he is of sound mind, he is of sound body. I see him walk up and down the streets when I'm in town and at home. We can't do anything, no matter how compassionate we are, without his permission.
True.
So
Unless,
he has to be asked.
yeah, because the alternative, I mean, we could try to get him services, like call social services, like you said, but
But if he
the owner,
declines,
the owner's feeding them and helping them out. The only thing we can do is force the owner to kick them out. I mean,
Because it was so cold
his
this
owner,
past
yeah.
winter, you know, he's laying up in the line, even though it's nice and warm in there. But, you know, laying on the chairs all night long like that, you know, I just have concern.
I agree with Ms. Nguyen. I think we're very sympathetic. We're not a player in the game. We just don't have any say. It's private
I
property.
did speak with a board
and
member
he has say over his own life.
a month ago. So it's on their radar to try to figure something out.
Okay. I just looking out, trying to look out, you
We
know.
appreciate it. For something we could
Yeah.
do, I feel what I'm hearing, we would.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we don't, but it's, you know, I'm in the car business and I can't talk to you about a deal I made with Mr. Allman.
Oh, no,
You know
no,
what I'm
no.
saying?
Yeah, I know
kinda
it's-
the same
yeah.
thing, you know?
Yeah, I know it's private, you know.
maybe
private.
we can reach out to some of the churches to try to help, you know.
Well, I noticed the Wedgewood is taking people in now too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I mean, give him,
Still, I
Do the
don't,
steps program,
I
steps
understand your
like this.
compassion, but I don't see where the government needs to, why we should be getting involved in that. Like, Ms. Nguyen,
Well,
that's
my,
a great
my,
point.
my whole point is confront him first. It's his life and his choice to what to do with his life. So no matter what we might want to do for him, we have to confront him first.
Well,
Because
would
he's
you-
got rights.
I'm sorry, would you agree that there's no laws being broken, we don't have a problem from the owner, that I don't see where we track this man down.
I got you,
I think
and that's
if
the
he
point
comes
I'm
to the
making.
Podium, then I think we have something to talk about.
I think if the owner was
That's,
upset. it'd be
yeah, that's the
different.
point I'm making. If he and the owner are already under some agreement, then before we do anything, we have to talk to them and him to see, you know, how we can possibly help. But my point is, we can't do anything without permission, bottom line.
Well, I'm sorry that the hour is getting that
That's fine.
I'll be in the doghouse here in a minute.
that's okay, no
But
problem.
we appreciate you coming.
Okay.
Appreciate everything you do for the community.
Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. Mhm.
All right, is there any other visitors that would like to come? All right, Mr. Page, you have the floor about your closed session. Now, what motion did you already make? when we
No,
said-
that was a motion to add it to the agenda. That way it was an agenda item. All right, so I motion that we enter, executive session for, exemption for 2.2-3711A1 personnel, in the Office of Administration. For the second reason, 2.2-3711A7, which is briefing by staff on possible or probable litigation or actual litigation. And for the third item, 2.2-3711A3, which deals with disposition of real property specific to the school building.
Okay. Is there a second Second? Any discussion? Have a roll call vote beginning with Mr. Page.
Aye.
All right, I'm gonna recess this meeting up for approximately 3 minutes. We're gonna go into closed session. I highly doubt that there will be an action taken from the three subjects discussed. If you want to wait, we will go back in public session after these issues have been dispatched.
Do you need me to read the motions, or are you just gonna go?
We're good with that. We stand in recess.